Hi dear children, welcome to a new class. Today I am here with a new area, how to write a narrative. Narratives are quite often asked in 7 marks area. Detailed writing we are expected, and especially this year we may get more than 2 narratives. That means 21 marks we can score if you are learning how to write a narrative. Do you know what's a narrative? Have you ever read a narrative? Of course you are, because you have started learning English from first standard onwards, and you read several hundreds of stories, and every stories are narratives. And writing a story is a narrative writing. And how come it in an examination? So it will define a narrative. Narrative can be defined in such a fashion that it's a written account of connected events. It's a story or a report of events, real or imaginary. So it's a creative writing area. It's a creative writing, it's an imaginative writing, so it's a major discourse also. Today we are going to learn how to write a narrative in detail. Here it is. Let's see how the sample question would be. Let's go to the sample question, and before that one, shall I show you a certain narratives you have read so far. That is from the first one is from the best investment I ever made, and second one is the adventures in a banyan tree. After seeing that one, we can go to the sample question, its answer, and analyze the answer, how it is written, and we can learn some questions to practice also. Let's read the part of the story from the best investment I ever made. Excuse me, doctor, I wonder if I might introduce myself. He spoke almost breathlessly, offering me the visiting card he held in his hand and studying my face to see if the name meant anything to me. Then, as it plainly did not, he went on with the same awkwardness. If you could spare a few minutes, my wife and I would like to have a word with you. Hope you all know this is a part of the story. Here the narrator, Ej Cronin, brings in a context or an event from his story. That is, meeting of a stranger with the narrator. That is the event. How that event is presented here. He begins that event with a dialogue. Excuse me, doctor, I wonder if I might introduce myself. That way he started. It is not a statement, it is a piece of dialogue. And after that he was telling, he spoke almost breathlessly. How he said this, explained here. And what did he do while asking this one? Offering me the visiting card. So he offered the visiting card and told all these things. His hand and studying my face to see if the name meant anything to me. So here you can see it's a first person narrative. The very first person is talking. This sort of things. You can see what all type of sentences are here. Excuse me is a small expression, polite expression. Doctor, it is called. I wonder if I might. Polite way of introduction again. If you could, a conditional clause is used here. Like that, all type of then, as it plainly did not. It is not a complete sentence. A part of sentence is given here. And he has used like that. This is a style of a narrative. He begins with a piece of dialogue like that. The types of sentence used are of different size and variety, like short sentences, expressions, conditionals, question tags, and all these can be used in a narrative. Here is another one. See, let's have a look at the part of the story, Adventures in a Banyan Tree. In the spring, so setting is given. When the setting of the story, when the banyan tree was full of small red figs, as a time of action is given, birds of all kind would flock into its branches. And after that, while giving detailing about those things, he is giving the red-bottomed bulbul. Adjectives are used. The red-bottomed bulbul, cheerful and greedy. Again, adjectives are used. Gossiping rosewood pastures, parrots, crows, squabbling with each other during the fig season. Again, setting. The banyan tree was the noisiest place. Here you see the next paragraph. It was an April afternoon. Again, the setting and the warm breeze, involvement of nature. It is given. So, why I am just telling all these things, these all are narratives. And what's a narrative, we have to again just think. And how to write a narrative, we have to learn. Okay? Now, what's a narrative? It's a written account of a connected events. Different events are connected. It is narrated. It's a story report of events, or real or imaginary, presented in a sequence. An incident from the text will be given for preparing the narrative. For examination, an incident from the story which you have read will be given, and you will be told to prepare a narrative. It may be retelling the story, changing the perspective of the narratives. What is the perspective? 3 types of perspectives are there. First person, if I am telling, and second person, and third person who is not involved in the story will be talking. For example, the story of the boy is telling his own story. That's a first person narrative. If a third person, you are, or another boy, is narrating the story of the boy in the boy story, that's a third person narrative. May be asked, it carries 7 scores. Beware. This year we are having 5 questions for 7 marks. Hope you have identified the pattern of the question paper. There will be 5 questions. If you can write all the 5, and you can score 35 marks. And among those 5, there will be maximum 3 or minimum 2 narratives will be there. So, studying how to write narrative is very important for this SSLC 2021. And here's a sample question for you. The story, The Snake and the Mirror, is narrated by the doctor to his friends. Hope you agree. After reading the story, you narrated the story to your mother. Perspective is changed. How would it be? Write the likely narrative. This is the question. Then here is an answer for this one I have given here. Let's read the answer. A beauty conscious snake. This is the title I have given. Mother, let me tell you a story of a homeopath. A young homeopath, a bachelor, rather a chronic bachelor. He had just set up his medical practice in a village. After his studies, one summer night, he was returning to his room after his night meal from a nearby restaurant. As he entered the room, he heard a rustling sound from the attic. Oh, rats! What a nuisance they are! As the room was not electrified, he lighted a kerosene lamp. He went to sleep after changing his dress. Oh, it is very hot inside, he thought. Let me go out to the veranda, he said to himself. However, the wind god has gone on leave. Not a slight hint of wind was there out. Reaching in the room, his eye struck on the wall mirror. Oh, I am looking very handsome now, aren't I? He said loudly. To look more handsome, I am going to keep a thin line of mustache. He took some earth-shaking decisions. He wished to marry a rich young lady. He also wished to marry a fat lady who could not follow him and catch him. Suddenly something fell on his shoulder and slithered down. He was frozen as he understood that it was a huge black cobra. If he moved, it would strike him. He sat there holding his breath like a statue. Gradually, snake saw its reflection in the mirror and moved towards it. The snake was taken with its own beauty for a while. By this time, the young doctor escaped from the room and ran out. It was a snake who became a fan of own beauty. So this is a narrative written here. Let's analyze this narrative. Here you can see this narrative also has started with a dialogue. Mother, let me tell you a story of a homeopath, a young homeopath, a bachelor rather than a chronic bachelor. So here a piece of dialogue is here. And after that, here you can see one summer night, the setting of the story, when it started. One summer night, the setting is given here. He was returning to, and when and how he was returning to his room after his night meal from a nearby restaurant, because every detail is given. From a hotel, during night, after having a meal, from a restaurant, and every detail is given here. As he entered the room, he heard a rustling sound. A rustling sound. Adjective is used here. From that, oh, a rat. Rats, what a nuisance they are. Again, exclamatory sentence is used here. As the room was not electrified, he lighted a kerosene lamp. The dim light spread in the room. You can give. So here we can see certain visual images. He was lighting and the things are lighted, and the kerosene lamp, the smell also may be there. Those things will give some visual impact on the readers. He went to sleep for after changing his dress. Oh, it is very hot inside. It is very hot inside. Means naturally he will, any person when he is sleeping in a room may say that one. He thought, let me go out to the veranda. He said to himself. Here again a piece of thought. And he said to himself. However, the wind god has gone on leave. It's a figurative use of telling something. Alangarikamayi parana reethiyil. Not a slightest hint of wind was there out. Again, a stylish way of telling. Reaching in the room, his eyes stuck on the wall mirror. Oh, I am looking very handsome now. Self-appreciating sentence. Aren't I? A tag is used here, he said loudly. How he said? To look more handsome, I am going to keep a thin line of mustache. So his decision also has taken. So his thoughts are given, his talks are given, how he thought and how he said, and everything is described. He also wished to marry a fat lady who could not follow and catch him. This is all part of the story. And he was frozen, again a figurative way of telling, as he understood that it was huge black cobra. The character cobra is described here using two adjectives, huge and black. If he moved, a conditional clause is given here. It would strike him. If he moved, it would strike him. He sat there holding his breath like a statue. Again a figurative way of telling. അലങ്കാരികമായിട്ടുള്ള വാക്കുകൾ കാണാൻ പറ്റും അവിടെയൊക്കെ നറേറ്റീവിൽ. ഇതാണ് നറേറ്റീവിൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ ക്വാളിറ്റി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Gradually snake saw its reflection in the mirror and moved towards it. The snake was taken with its own beauty for a while. It is narrator's opinion. By this time the young doctor escaped from the room and ran out. It was a snake who became a fan of own beauty. So this is the narrative given, and we have given a title to it, a beauty conscious snake. So every narrative will have such a title also. So narratives are short stories. It is different from all other discourses. You might have noticed that one. And while writing a narrative, we have to keep in our minds, first thing is fix the events. When we are getting a question, we have to think what will be the first event, what will be the, how I am going to write that one, second event, third event, and how will I conclude it. That fixing of the events must be planned well. And always describe the setting in detail. If it is taken in the morning or night or the time, how was the weather that time? It was a sunny morning. It was drizzling. Like that climate you can bring in, because climate can create mood of the story. Now portray the characters well with the describing words. That is whatever, as I told regarding that cobra, that two double adjectives I have used. And it stood straight. 3 of its 6 feet stood up, like that, what is told in the adagio in banyan tree. Such things you can copy it and use. So you have to describe everything, action, character, movement and everything. And use sensuous images. It is very important. Visual, auditory, olfactory. And I could use that one while the kerosene lamp was lighted. A smell of paraffin spread in the room. Olfactory image could be created. Narrate the events well with the suitable vocabulary. Selection of words must be very suitable for that one. Use variety of sentences. This is very important. That is, you have to use not all the statements. You have to use WH questions. You have to use exclamatory sentences. You have to use all types of sentences must be used. Give an effective opening and ending. It must have a Adi Madhyanta Puritan Varim. Could have good beginning, good continuation, and ending must be there. And give a suitable title. This make exactly what a narrative is. So with this idea, go back to this narrative, and I don't say that it is the best narrative, you can develop it again. And after that, while valuing this paper, what are the matters, what are the areas will be noted. If there is title is there, we'll get a score. Expression of the content, that is the context what is asked, that must be written. And sequencing of events, first event, second event, third event, that flow must be there. Use of variety of sentences, dialogues must be there, question tags must be there, if clause must be there, WH question must be there, yes or no question must be there, statements, assertive sentence must be there, all type of sentences. Use figurative languages. Alangarika bhasha prayogangal. You can use simile, metaphor, all these things in this one. He stood as a statue. It's a simile exactly. Proper beginning and ending. These are the major value points usually considered to evaluate your narrative. Hope you have enjoyed the session. That is, you have gone through the detailed process of how to write a narrative. Now here are 4 questions to practice. Do it by yourself. And here are the questions, please. First one is, the boy in the story Adventures in a Banyan Tree was thrilled at seeing the fight between Cobra and the mongoose. After reading the story, you narrated the story to one of your friends. How would it be? Write the likely narrative. The same pattern. Next question is, imagine that you witnessed the shooting of Northern Gram. How will you explain the preparations and shooting? To one of your friends, prepare the likely narrative. Third one, imagine that you heard the story of Mr. John while traveling in the ship. You said the story to one of your friends. Prepare the likely narrative. You narrated. The narrator was so happy to know that Mr. John was the same young man who he had saved years ago. Reaching back in his room, he narrated the whole incident to his wife. Write the likely narrative. So these are the questions to practice. Practice well, write it and refine it and send to me or send to your teacher so that you can score good marks